Free plug. Free plug. I didn't pay for that.
You go on Bitt.com and you can buy some Bitcoin. You could use your current Visa or credit card right now, and then you can buy some. Bitt.com only supports Bitcoin, so if you want other assets, you go do stuff like CEX.
Hi everybody, we're just taking a few minutes to share the video all the way around.
I'm going to jump off and I'm on Facebook event.
Yeah. So you can share it in the social accountability and education group.
Oh, that's not bad. I like the water.
Well, you could explain the water from early on.
Yes, we have a sponsor, people. The Institute of Internal Auditors, the Barbados chapter, have sponsored $850 in items for the Dominica Relief Drive. So we here bumming some of the things that they gave towards the drive to help boost our microphone.
I'm sure Dominic from Blue Water would be quite happy.
I am sure he would be.
It's pretty cool, actually. He's still alive.
Say hi to Facebook. Hey! Oh, he's shy. Oh, he's shy. Oh.
So you can just wait for the audience to build up a bit and for everybody to share.
Talking Bitcoin and Ethereum. What is it? Should you get involved? Is it all a scam?
That's the biggest question.
Really?
It's all a big scam.
No, it's not.
When people are afraid of
what does Gabriel want? He wants to rule the world.
Shannon's so crazy.
Mega shout outs to Chris. If you're hearing Crystal's pod, this is straight out of an episode of Cribs, people.
It's about a
internet money.
10-second delay.
What's it all about?
We are live right now.
Okay, so questions.
And everything we're saying is being recorded. That's all.
Okay, so questions, folks.
So don't say anything about
Chamario. Yeah, buddy. Chamario's there watching. That's awesome.
Nice.
What do you got from your end?
I just have a few people. I'm not
Rashid. So we have two Bitt guys. One on, what's this, Facebook?
His social account is so her. If I see it through her, he's going to see people.
Okay.
Should you invest in Bitcoin? Yeah?
Absolutely.
Is anybody asking that question? Give me some likes.
We're going to get into all of that good stuff. Should you invest in Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin? What is cryptocurrencies? What's the difference between virtual currencies, digital currencies, cryptocurrencies? How do they work? What brings them about? Why are they useful for us? Why should we be paying attention?
What was the delay? Wow.
How do you invest in Bitcoin? How do you invest in other digital currencies? Why should you invest in others, if you should at all? Get into all that fun stuff.
So, welcome everyone. I know you wouldn't have seen us in a bit, but as soon as I heard that Gabriel and Shannon were going to be coming, I rushed and buy a couch. Just so that we could have room for us to have a very robust discussion on a topic that, and this is for everyone in general, this disclaimer, do not feel intimidated if you do not understand cryptocurrencies. Who product you placing? Do not feel intimidated if you do not understand cryptocurrencies. I know persons who are in high positions dealing with finance and accounts and economics who still don't fully understand how cryptocurrencies work. So the hope tonight is that by the time we finish this episode, that you will have some kind of basic understanding that would help push you towards learning more about it. Because I actually had a friend share some books with me, and when I saw all of the books, I went straight for the one that said Crypto-Currencies for Dummies, and I opened it and it was over 400 pages. So and that was just one book. So this is just a background to show that you can't learn everything about cryptocurrencies tonight. That's not the intention. But it is to open you up to be less afraid or intimidated when you hear the word, and to give you this opportunity to be able to ask our resident expert, some person who put Barbados on the map, to learn about cryptocurrencies. And Shannon, don't sell yourself short.
And Shannon. Like, you know, that was totally like a Jon Snow moment. It's like,
don't sell yourself short though, because it is the tech side of it. I know you understand very, very tall, so I really appreciate that. And whatever else you know, you just slip that in there, because this is a very open discussion, and we'll be taking questions from the audience after our sponsor comes in and shares a bit more about the institute. That will be the session in between us sharing, and then we get into your questions and us sharing the answers. So I'm going to start with Gabriel. I know it's you pointing to Gabriel. I was going to start with Dwayne.
So we could introduce everyone, because
as I was going to let him introduce himself.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I guess since I've been put on the spotlight here, my name is Gabriel Abed. I'm one of the founders at a beautiful Barbadian company called Bitt.com. It's Bitt with 2 T's, bi.tt. Pretty revolutionary company that uses the blockchain to help central banks create their own controlled digital cash issuance process. What this basically means is that central banks can start using the software, procedures and policies put together by the team at Bitt to enter the world of digital cash and a digital economy. So that's a brief introduction to what I do.
To Gabriel. Shannon,
Hi everyone, my name is Shannon Clarke. I'm an electrical engineer, software developer. Even though I'm right now on the panel discussing as like an expert, I'm not. I'm actually just someone who's really learning about Bitcoin and crypto assets or cryptocurrencies, as it's typically been called. I was a skeptic. Gabriel did try to convert me before. I wish I had listened, and he does let me know that, gee, Shan, if you had listened, So it's actually, my perspective is really looking at the potentials for the technology, how it can be applied in the future, and also how it's being applied right now. It's really, really in terms of practical. I do believe in some of the hype. I don't believe in some of the hype. And I also do understand some of the risks and the concerns. Unfortunately, there's a lot of misconceptions going around right now.
Hopefully today we debunk a lot of those misconceptions and expand on them. So just to touch base a little bit as well.
One thing, like for instance, like first thing that I think is really, really important is that a lot of people think that Bitcoin is the perfect tool for cybercrime and money laundering, and it's not. Like actually, if I try to do something like that, using Bitcoin is so easy to track me. At some point in time, I'm going to face KYC when I try to cash it out, and we're going to explain what that is.
KYC is know your customer.
Right. Okay. So basically, that's when.
This is like when you go in the bank and you try to take off anything more than $10,000 and they give a form and malicious in all your business.
It's typically a process by financial institutions to get to know as much about their customer as possible by asking for preset things like your proof of your address, like a utility bill, a proof of ID like your passport or your driver's license, and it's how institutions can remain compliant and take a level of responsibility that they actually do know their client and who they're doing financial transactions with.
Make sure that they're not dealing with some person who has nefarious intentions.
Right. And it's actually worse than even at the banks. Like if you just getting into crypto right now, like let's say that you use your credit card and you buy some Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever other currency. If you try then to convert that, let's say you say, okay, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin because I don't want to launder some US money or whatever, right? Any amount over, like not even $10,000, like less than a few thousand, right? Then you're going to have to provide all of your information, 2 forms of ID. It's going to be so easy to track.
So we're gonna show today how
you actually can't.
All of that ties in.
Well, what I would say is that I was mentioning them before. Today is a fairly significant anniversary, certainly for me. This is 30 years since they had the stock market crash on what we call Black Monday in 1987. I had just started university. I was in university for a month and a half, and I was doing a double major in accounting and finance, and all of a sudden I didn't think I had a job. And how they dealt with it at that point in time is to put in what we call more centralization, more regulation by putting in circuit breakers to try to stymie these stock market dives. Then not too long ago, about 9 years ago in 2008, we had the mortgage-backed crisis that really shattered the world. And again, that was on the other side now, that was a failure of regulation. And it was a failure of what they call the centralized process. So here we are now, today, 30 years later, discussing a new, what I would say, technology or commodity. And where, from my understanding, it's deregulation and decentralization. Would that be a correct analogy? And how would we bring that into context with?
I wouldn't use the word deregulation. It's without regulation in some contexts.
Does anybody have any questions?
But decentralization is definitely a word I would use.
Okay.
So regulation is still in play here.
Right. So we just kind of bring it, certainly for me, from the finance side, because I will almost guarantee you that we have. I would estimate, if I go on my small sample of finance people, investment people who really truly understand in our small circle here in Barbados, I would say I probably met about 5% of people who actually understand it. You've heard one of them, and he understands it quite well. That would be Rodden. Yeah. But what I would say is, so getting into this, we keep hearing these buzzwords: cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, Bitcoin. In a language myself and Crystal can understand. Are they the same? Are they different? You know, how can we differentiate them for our viewers?
Okay, so the first cryptocurrency that we know about was introduced in 2009 in the form of a conceptual paper called a white paper, which theorized what a peer-to-peer electronic cash system could look like if some problems were solved. These problems had alluded to a general problem called proof of work, I'll get into later. But the birth of Bitcoin came about in terms of software and its overarching white paper in 2009 and 2010. Years later, other digital currencies followed. Now, the name cryptocurrency is derived from cryptographic currency. And the reason that the word cryptographic is used is a lot of processes involved in the security behind Bitcoin. I'm trying to avoid words like hashing.
Right.
Because we're trying to keep it simple. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
In the ability to secure it, part of the function of securing Bitcoin was using a process called cryptography. Yeah. And because this technology was applied to the concept of cryptocurrencies. That's where it came from. So cryptocurrencies are nothing more than a cryptographic currency, which is nothing more than a blockchain-based currency. So now these are different from digital currencies. Digital currencies imply that it's an electronic-based transaction. Something like PayPal could be construed as a digital currency, while Bitcoin is still that. Cryptographic currencies imply that a process known as the blockchain exists within its infrastructure. What that basically means is that cryptographic currencies are predicated on blockchain technology.
Alright, so in my mind, to me, cryptocurrencies are just the next step in how we trade, because back in long time ago, we would have actually used gold. And then from gold we went to paper currency, and now from paper currency we're going to what you call cryptocurrency. And in the same way, when people were transferring to the use of paper currency and it was pushed back. I know I'm going very, very basic. I'm assuming this is the same fear persons have as to, because some of the questions I've had is, what secures a cryptocurrency? When I get it, how can I then say that this has a particular value?
So we could talk about two things, either the trade side of things or the security. Which one do you want me to go on first?
Let me go with security first, because that's a major concern for a lot of persons who are involved in investment, because it's not backed.
All right, I'll try to make this simple. So one of the major components that protects Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptographic systems is the power of large numbers.
Right.
Not being technical, but there's a hashing function around cryptography called SHA-256, which is used in the Bitcoin encryption system. Now, without being technical, what this basically means is a really large number is used to compute an address, a cryptographic address. Now, once this address has been formed, it comes with okay, so try to be non-technical. Let me start over here. The security of Bitcoin is implied through a number of cool technologies that we have available to us that are built in inherently, and a big part of that revolves around the field of cryptography, and particularly public key pair encryption. Now,
you're gonna lose a lot of people there. Sorry to say.
Basically, there's a key given to you, and this key is something that is used to unlock your funds.
Right.
And the only way to get this key is to have a lot of energy. I mean a lot of energy, and we're talking more energy than the power of the sun. And the reason for this is because computer systems can't figure out what that key is without counting to it. And in order for computers to count to that, they require energy. So if they say, hey, is it A? No. Is it AB? No. Is it ABC? No. And to keep going to try to find that key, it requires a lot of energy. So by default, the power of numbers, large numbers, protect us in this scenario. It doesn't just protect your Bitcoin, it protects the likes of your email, so your Gmail, your Hotmail account, your Facebook, your phone, every single system electronically that you're using that requires authentication. There's a 10 out of 10 guarantee it's protected through the power of large numbers.
Okay.
And I think that's the easiest way I can explain it. And that's the first side of the security, and that by default within the architecture of Bitcoin, large numbers protect the ability that your Bitcoin can't just be stolen from you. The next thing is generation of a Bitcoin address. I can sit down here with a calculator, 2 dice, and a pencil, and in 8 hours I can generate a unique address that for the rest of history of mankind, no man will ever be able to generate again. By rolling that dice, say 20 times in a random order, and writing down the top of the dice that I got, and using that as my initial input. The point is, I can generate a secure Bitcoin address that no one can ever reverse engineer or break. Even with the introduction of quantum computing, which is a different theory altogether, it makes it extremely difficult. Now, all you really have to do is protect 32 letters and numbers. And once I've generated these, and I've set a calculator and a dice, if I do that, I go upstairs to your bedroom, I lock the door of my calculator and my dice, and I take 8 hours, my pencil and paper, I could in theory generate that secure address. As long as I don't show you, and I don't put it out there to you guys, and I keep that privately held, and I protect those 32 letters and numbers, it's computationally impossible to steal my digital assets. So protecting that is the next phase of security. And then we get into the general security of two-factor authentication on your online accounts, and understanding how to use digital systems and what to expose, and that's just normal security.
You're almost making it seem so it's hack-proof.
There is a level of diligence that can be applied to make this thing hack-proof.
Okay.
And we have implied that and done so a bit.
Okay, so let me just give a different analogy to what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is an internet community, right? It's an internet community. It's a representation of value within the internet community. As Gabriel said, the more people within the community, the stronger and more established and more trusted that community becomes. Because of the technology behind Bitcoin, blockchain, then it becomes more secure, it becomes harder to fake value within that community. Right? If we try to bring an analogy, what is the technology behind Bitcoin and why is it harder to break as you get more people in? Is because it's a
I can explain that pretty easily.
No. Simple. Basically, it's just it's an immutable ledger. It's a ledger that you can only add on to it. Ledger being in terms of your own accounting. So okay, how much money do you have left in your bank account or how much money do you have left within your wallet. So okay, you can only add on to that. So any changes that you're making to it, any changes that are being made are being reviewed by the entire community, specifically miners within the community, and is also being, that review system is backed by the technology, which is the cryptographic hashing that Gabriel mentioned. Breaking it down real simple. So essentially then Bitcoin, the reason why Bitcoin is going up in value so much is for two reasons. Because the community trusts more and more in Bitcoin as it's becoming more and more established. The number of transactions being done per second, per week, per month continues to grow. The value of transactions continues to grow. Within that community, people call that speculative. Okay, that's one way to look at it. But then at the same time, there's also other things that are being done with Bitcoin within our community, within our economy. This is the fiat, the currency that we're used to giving at the grocery store, etc.
There's more to it than Bitcoin's price going up than just those. I mean, you have utility, you have its deflationary principles, you have an increased appetite and healthiness for the mining community. The difficulty rating continues to rise, but I think that's
Let's put it back now to more relatable to, like, let's say again, myself and Crystal.
Okay.
All right. Let's assume that maybe the wrong analogy is we start use a key to deposit. Suppose we have our money or whatever in the deposit in a bank, safety deposit in a bank. So we're assuming that that's kind of what we have. We have a safe deposit. It's called our digital wallet per se.
Except it's not kept with a bank. You are the bank.
Right.
So you control that.
But if I want it, I can go for it.
Yes.
I can go for it. That was really what I was trying to.
At any given point, you control and you're the only one that should have access to that key.
Right.
And as long as you have that key, you're the only one that can prove that, mathematically speaking, you're the one that can prove that you have the authorization to spend.
Right. So before we get the part with spend, how does Crystal and myself, we're like, if we want money or we want to borrow money or whatever, we walk into a bank and we put in our ATM, we get money. How do we start with Bitcoin? How do we get Bitcoins?
Okay, so there's different points called exchanges, and exchanges are usually the point of where you convert your local dollars for something like Bitcoin. And these exchanges vary from someone that will come and visit you in a local transaction, usually called an over-the-counter, and that person might have a pre-negotiated fee of, hey, the price of Bitcoin according to these markets on the internet, it's $1,000 per Bitcoin. It's not $1,000 per Bitcoin. But you can then decide if you're willing to pay that $1,000 based on the international market or not. But it's like buying an ounce of gold. You're choosing an international market rate, and you are finding an authorized or unauthorized seller that is willing to transact with you to convert your local Barbadian dollars or your local Trinidad dollars or your US dollars for Bitcoin according to a market rate.
Right, so I have to find someone who, if I want to get Bitcoins for whatever reason, I got to find someone who has them to start.
That's right.
Or can you do the trading on because I remember Jeremy downloaded, and hail up to Jeremy for all the work he's been doing with Biba. Really great job he's been going at. He also spoke about cryptocurrencies today, so that was kind of ironic, but not to detract from the point.
It's Crypto Day.
Yeah. He downloaded a wallet on my phone.
Right. Jax?
Before I even knew what it was, because he would have taught my ear off about cryptocurrency.
Did he put Bitcoin in it too? Or
I was waiting for him to put the actual Bitcoins in the wallet. It might have
so having a wallet is one thing, and any wallet that talks to the Bitcoin blockchain, in theory, you can interface with that.
Right.
But it's all about who is willing to sell you Bitcoin for Barbadian dollars, or vice versa, who's willing to buy your Bitcoin for Barbadian dollars.
And that's another concern. If persons are going to have to spend a lot of Barbadian currency to be able to get a piece of a Bitcoin, because they understand that you can buy them in pieces as well. as compared to say
you can buy 0.00001 of a Bitcoin. So you can buy $1 worth, $1 million worth, $1 billion worth.
Correct.
So effectively, if we break it down, because we're trying to break it down as simple as possible. So you have a wallet. We find somebody who exchange Bitcoin. So now, myself and Crystal, we have a Bitcoin or a part of a Bitcoin.
Right. And we're doing what then? You're just trading it back and forth.
Well, it depends. Once again, there are practical applications, but we need to dive into what are the reasons that you want to buy Bitcoin in the first place. Right. Is it that you're speculating on the utility of this amazing network and the fact that it's a deflationary asset and a superior store of wealth?
No, he went and got very technical there because...
Are you buying Bitcoin because you think it's going to do well in the long term?
And then you can sell it for a higher price.
Or you can sell it for a higher price.
So you're holding it as an investor, or so we have two...
So let's start there. You're holding it as an investor.
Right.
The next reason is you may want to buy Bitcoin because you have to pay a bill or a fee, and that person takes Bitcoin and it's either more convenient, it's cheaper, or it's accessible.
Why would it be more convenient?
Okay, if it's more convenient. Let's start with convenience. I have Bitcoin on my phone. I'm about to pay, let's just say, cheapair.com or Expedia or Overstock.com, and I'm about to pay a bill. I have PayPal, I have credit card, I have credit card, or I have Bitcoin. I can choose credit card and type out my credit card details, the 16 numbers, my first name, my last name, my address, and I can expose all of my personal information.
Right.
I could choose PayPal and log into my PayPal account and then make sure that my PayPal account is funded, and then I submit a transaction. Or I can click Bitcoin and then a code appears. And that code, I open up my phone's wallet, I scan that code, and I send the amount of Bitcoin. It's saying send 0.1 Bitcoin, which pays, let's just say for argument's sake, that's 100 US.
Right.
And that pays for this hotel room on Expedia.com, or this shovel that I'm buying from Overstock.com.
Nice.
And I scan that code, I make the payment, and 2 seconds later, the screen updates, your payment's been received. We've seen it on the blockchain, and that's it. I didn't put out my information. They don't know that it's...
So all your personal information.
That's convenience. That's convenience. That's really simple, really clean, and that's private as well, right? Then the next thing I decide to do is why cost? All right. Well, let's just say I was going to fund a website that was charging me that had a processor that didn't want to process them. What this means is some websites do not get banking as easy as other websites. Some businesses do not get banking as easy as other businesses. And those that have a hard time getting banking get charged higher fees. So I can either use credit card and they're charging me a 7 to 15% fee, or they say pay with Bitcoin and we'll give you like gift, gyft.com. And what's the other one that sold gift cards? Purse.io. I can use Purse.io and I'm getting a 20% discount for paying in Bitcoin, which then gives me Amazon gift cards.
Nice.
So I can get a discount and it saves me money because the company, they themselves are saving money by receiving Bitcoin directly and not having to pay the credit card companies the 7 or 2 or 3 or 10% in processing fees. Bitcoin doesn't have that middle processor per se that makes the fees lesser.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, because I was going to follow on your credit card. Because
I don't know if you're thinking the same way, but this foreign exchange fee, it gets around that.
Oh Lord. Whoa, I'm not getting in.
Oh Lord,
you mean the foreign exchange fee that's been imposed on us sending money outside of the island?
Using credit card,
transactions. The devaluation of our dollar.
That's
another way to put it. Yes, the devaluation of our dollar.
I'm going to avoid that one. We observe all laws.
No, it's the foreign exchange fee charged when you transact with
yes,
Bitt.
and if that is a law that's enacted on this island, Bitt.com will adhere to any laws that directly speak to.
So that's all it's so
right. So I'm totally free of
yeah, go ahead, speak, Shannon.
Is that right?
Yes, we're not getting Bitt in any trouble.
Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
I can say whatever I want, right?
There we go.
Without any liabilities to any company or whatnot. I'll let Gabriel, right? No, okay, so Gabriel did a very, very great job, right, of explaining how you could get Bitcoin or how you can use Bitcoin right now. tonight if you wanted to. Basically, you can buy with your credit card, and there are various services that allow you to use your Bitcoin in different ways, right? He gave the example of how you can buy on Amazon. This is what a lot of people do right now with their credit cards right now. I will take 2 steps back in terms of the buying process. If you want to know what a fair price is, there are many websites that list the current trading price, one of which is Bitt.com, and there are others as well. So you have CEX.io, you have other exchanges, whatnot. In terms of your question then, no, in terms of the foreign exchange fee, so then you're assuming that you're not investing in Bitcoin to hold, you're investing in it just to trade.
Right.
Yes.
And you just want to exchange it then to
Because
US.
it's a convenient,
Yeah?
easy
She wants to
way
buy
make
something on
purchases.
Amazon.
Correct.
She going on Amazon.
So
and
instead of-
she won't buy a coach.
Yes.
Okay. Effectively, yes, you would avoid that fee. However, if your bank or whatever recognizes that, like for instance, if you still pay with it to your credit card, you will still end up with the fee because the bank is going to recognize the credit card purchase. Even if it's a Visa debit, I think you will still get the same 2% fee as well.
So you still have to use your credit card.
Because what he's saying
So
is
the only
you're
other
buying it
way-
in US dollars
You
by
can't-
using
you
the
can't buy
credit.
Bitcoin with Barbadian dollars unless
Right.
you go through Bitt.
Right.
Bitt observes rules and laws of Barbados.
Exactly.
So
Now,
we-
if you went, if you went through
want to
another
use
route,
Barbadian dollars, you have to then pay the
So-
purchase because you have to go through US.
Well,
You're
there's
following
nobody
all
that
the laws
actually
of
recognizes
Barbados.
Barbados dollars outside of Barbados. I mean, if you just look at it, just
So if I walk into Bitt tomorrow with $2.06, I can buy the equivalent of a US dollar in Bitcoin.
and the smile is you gotta answer.
Well, I take a drink.
there's an imposed foreign exchange fee of 2% on all transactions.
That's the 206.
Yes. So that already
So
is
the
accounted
202,
for 2%.
206. So I come in and I say I want $1 US.
Well, in Bitt's particular case, 2 things occur. Number one is that foreign exchange fee would more than likely be observed on on the local side. But then there's also the issue of liquidity issues, where you don't have Bitcoin being sold for Barbadian dollars in large amounts. So then there's the value of someone like Shannon, who's looking to sell his Bitcoin, that might say, hey, look, I'm not selling at market rate. I know that Barbados has a low liquidity, so I'm going to be selling at a higher than market rate. So you're going to be paying more than the 2.06. It's not a fixed exchange rate. This is a supply and demand market.
No,
So in other words, Shannon is black market devaluing the dollar.
Well, this
no, only if I somehow or for whatever reason create a channel, in other words, I create an exchange for you to then convert your Barbados or your US.
and this was assuming that we didn't observe the foreign exchange.
In which case, then I made myself a target for various regulatory agencies and legal bodies, etc.
Because you're a money trader now. Because there.
But let's talk about the opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Again, I'm free from any liabilities, right?
Well, no, I think that something needs to be said first is that you are limited in what you can do a bit, first of all. So in terms of there isn't the opportunity for like, say, a capital flight to occur, because a Barbadian is very much limited on Bitt.com and how many Bitcoin they can purchase. It's a hard limit that we do set to observe one of those rules. And then you face the other problem, as I said, which was a liquidity crisis, of where there is much more demand, like most foreign products, there's more demand for us to be purchasing it than it is for influx. So those are 2 very serious issues that we face. It does not make us an adequate route for that kind of movement.
So then, there's something called Payoneer. That is a virtual debit card, MasterCard service, which you can use right now. Basically PayPal for developing world. You could use that if you want to access US currency outside of the current systems. However, they do also have their own identification process, which is basically what KYC is. So they do identify you, however there's not as much restrictions on it. So in other words, if you try to, I have a Payoneer card here.
Well, but Payoneer still has its issues with regards to accessing that foreign exchange. Now, I'm basically going to summarize it and answer it in this. Bitcoin is not an avenue. Bitcoin through an exchange that is attempting to be in regulatory compliance. It's not an avenue for getting around that 2% tax.
Yeah,
we wasn't talking about 2% tax. But what I was saying is, I think we're going to drift off this now because they're going to take us into a regulatory area and they're going to take from the topic that we want to do. So I'm going to probably dress it back to where we were talking about the credit card. You were saying that you can just go and use your phone and you can transfer Bitcoin because she takes it. You want to buy something from Crystal. I saw something in China. There are two pay programs. I can't remember what they're called, but even the vendors in the street don't take cash in China. It's all the barcode swiping. It's just another method of payment. So if we break it down in terms of ease of payment, and as a vendor myself, we have to pay credit card fees.
Yeah.
So for me, if I'm going to have something, I'm not going to be paying the 3 or sometimes what I was quoted one time was like 5 or 7% in commissions. Okay. And if I don't want to pay that, and I don't know what the commission per se in Bitcoin is, but then I would be more inclined to be taking Bitcoin because it's a method of payment. It doesn't matter to me whether it comes from Visa. Debit, I think, is like 0.5%.
Well, imagine this. Imagine that you were selling to a US customer. That US customer could buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin and sends it to you. You were to sell that Bitcoin real time to, let's just say, a company like Bitt.com. In theory, it should cost you less than 1%, and it's near instant. But there are regulatory concerns that we ourselves are still trying to get around with regulators in the region.
Yeah, one of the things that I've assessed with, like, I'm all for all the new digital technology platforms. But very much to Niraj and me have ongoing battles, and we'll have them more. But one of the things that what I see that the new digital platforms, whether it be any of the other ones out there, it requires a easing of regulation, which I'm all for, because regulations is layers of bureaucracy that ties you down. So in this type of platform, you are obviously pushing for lesser regulation to make it more accessible to everyone. Would that be a correct assessment?
I wouldn't say less regulation. Regulation right now doesn't exist in Barbados to speak towards digital currencies, digital assets, virtual currencies. We're seeking towards getting an educated audience in the governance and central banking sectors of this island so that we can adequately address the future where this technology is going and other financial technologies around us. So to say we're looking for less regulation isn't accurate. What in essence we're looking for is accurate legislation that would look at payment service providers. It would look at, and I use this term often, the democratizing the payment space.
So how popular would you say the use of Bitcoin is for Barbadian vendors as compared to overseas?
I would say it's not as popular amongst the Barbadian vendors as yet. And it's for many reasons, along the lines of education being the core reason. Bitt hasn't been out there on the radio, on the TV, or in the newspapers educating Barbadians on the fruitfulness of Bitcoin, not from a marketing campaign perspective, for multiple reasons. A, the market is not ready from a regulatory perspective. B, there's issues around banking. And C, the general paradigm around where blockchain and Bitcoin sit. So the education needs to come in. And then secondary to that, getting the regulators to observe what this is and getting them to take a stance. Whether the stance is positive or negative, a stance nonetheless helps the formal economy understand their rights and what they can do while being in compliance with their local governance. So that's the other big issue is people don't know whether they can take Bitcoin as a payment. You're seeing I'm seeing Santosha, the East Coast, beautiful little
Walmart.
Yeah, they just put out a beautiful ad that they're taking Bitcoin. I don't know.
But they can because they're a hotel.
And you see that.
But anybody could accept
really
Bitcoin.
well
No, but anyone can accept Bitcoin. Let's get this right. Anyone right now.
Agreed. But they
I
will
can
have
give you
guests who will be more aware of Bitcoin and might be looking to use.
Yes, no, they're looking for a foreign market, and they're rightfully
Correct.
so. This is a great avenue, especially since the main industry players who took on Bitcoin in the early were the hotel industry, Expedia and Cheap Air, the travel and hotel industry.
Correct.
So with that being said, I'm just saying there is the ability for an informal economy to occur as well.
Yeah, well, what effectively Bitcoin, for lack of a better, is sort of like a foreign currency because it's not our currency.
Thank you.
So therefore, under the
A
laws,
foreign currency, a foreign commodity, a foreign asset.
foreign asset. I use the word commodity because that's how I think of it, as a commodity.
I see it as a protocol.
Let's just say asset. Asset covers
Okay.
those things. It's an asset.
So if we look at it in that format, if she gives me if she comes in my store and takes US dollars, as far as I know, I'm speaking in a correction, I have to deposit. I can't keep that under my mattress. I shouldn't be keeping it because, as far as I know, the laws are that we aren't supposed to be keeping currency. If you are earning in US dollars,
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
if you're
So you're asking if
so I'm saying holding,
Bitcoin, if it's illegal?
because it may not be within written, because it's new, and you just got to be careful that regulators don't get
Okay. So again, I'm outside of any
Right.
requirements from Bitt and whatnot, right? Using Bitcoin as a financial alternative is just one of its potential uses.
Right.
It's the most obvious use, right?
That's a very salient point.
Right, and it's potentially like the use that is most promoted as, right, in terms of financial freedom, right? Which is really, if you read the white paper, that's really what it's all focused about, creating a currency for the world economy, the world community that's not hindered by politics or crap from different people.
Centralization.
that is understood. But I'm just saying in our current environment.
Right? So I say that because we must. It's very, very tempting to only look at Bitcoin as, okay, is it the future of money? Is it an alternative to money, and is it trying to circumvent money? Ultimately, what we really need to remember at the end of the day, Bitcoin is a technology. That's why Gabriel just said it's a protocol. It's a technology. So you cannot, and in no way can
May I
you.
expand on that, if you will?
Yeah, definitely, right? But you cannot ever say that your data that you hold on your phone or on your computer or whatever is illegal. There's no way you can do that. There's actually no way. However,
Let me clarify.
However, there will be laws set up regarding how you use it. So in other words, then, do you use it then in a way that could be breaking existing laws?
It's like a gun.
Right. Or a knife. Exactly, right? You can use a knife to cut meat, or you can use a knife to stab somebody, right? But it doesn't mean that a knife is illegal. So ultimately then, we will see different regulators as they start to learn to understand the technology. A couple of years ago, they were totally against it, and now they're coming on board with it. They want to create their own variant of it. It's not because of the technology being illegal. So in other words, yes, it's a foreign commodity, but you cannot say that it's illegal to hold Bitcoin.
Let me just expand the point there, because you may have misunderstood a little bit what I said.
Sure.
Under the Barbados laws, if I earn US dollars,
Right.
if I earn in US dollars, I can open a US dollar account.
Right.
Recently, what happened is, because I think back in 2009 or 2010, the law was changed where you can no longer hold a US dollar account. You can only hold 30% of what you earn. What happened in July this year, people who had US dollar accounts, because they export whatever they do, they had US dollar accounts, they were sent a letter stating that by the middle of August, 70% of your US dollar account would be converted into Barbados dollars, and and those monies were transferred into Barbados dollars.
Right.
So what I'm just telling you is because I am not saying I am in agreement with what the next comment I'm going to say, but if you get regulators who think along the lines that it is a currency, it's not a commodity, it's not an asset, then they may come to somebody like you and say your Bitcoin, you 70% of what you have has to be converted to Barbados dollars.
So they're trying to do a hard fork then. So they can't do that because of the technology. I mean,
they can't find it.
Let's start over. First of all, they can very well find it. So a company like Bitt.com, who work in tandem with governments, who provide their partnership and compliance.
They can charge you.
There's the ability for eavesdropping to occur against that user's account to dictate how much Bitcoin they would have received, how much they're holding on hand. And if our government does go down the road, or our central bank, whoever the authority is that passes that sort of measure and says, okay, those Bitcoin in that user's account need to be converted to BBD, 70% of them, that's the laws, right? And if they do get to the point where they start to focus on this type of technology, I do hope before they go down such an invasive route, they understand that it's a protocol. So now let me expand on that. We know several network protocols today. We know POP for email, HTTP for websites and website access. Those define a set of rules and standards of how software and communication devices speak to each other over dissimilar networks. Bitcoin does nothing more than provide that level of interface and connectivity, but around ledgers and financial transactions. And that's why it's nothing more than a network protocol. I say that to classify it as a commodity or a currency or a stock or some sort of value transfer mechanism is doing misjustice to the technology and could potentially hurt our economy if our regulators look at this the wrong way and don't fully understand the full spectrum. And I believe one of your questions were, why do people like Jamie Dimon say unfavorable things about cryptocurrencies or the cryptocurrency platform?
You're not supposed to do that.
And the reason for that is when you look at something like that and a Jamie Dimon, it's because they literally don't understand the cryptographic nature of how this process works. And I can get into the 3 reasons why you can truly never stop Bitcoin. And it's 3 very fundamental reasons. And one is the number 1 reason, but 2 others matter as well. Number 1, there's never going to be a time, at least that I can see in the future, where anyone controls the internet. With encryption and the ability to thwart eavesdropping and third parties, and with the fight towards net neutrality and the massive companies like Google and Reddit supporting net neutrality, you'll never truly see a world where all the countries in the world govern and manage and control and shut down the internet. And all that's needed for a Bitcoin transaction or a cryptographic transaction or a blockchain transaction to occur is that 32 letters and numbers need to be sent across the internet. That's really hard to stop. The second reason for that is collusion of all the governments around the world. If all the governments around the world decided to collude tomorrow against cryptocurrencies, it would be the greatest feat that we have seen all governments do ever. I mean, if they could do that, then we can solve world peace. We can solve a number of problems here. So if we can attribute blockchain and Bitcoin to forming that, then it's done a way bigger job than solving financial problems. And the third reason is the laws of man will never be able to regulate the laws of mathematics. And that's the number 1 and only reason we need to understand. So around that, good regulation can come, but the wrong type of regulation can really hurt us in the race of technology and positioning us as an economic superpower, if you will, which is possible if we embrace this technology.
Well, one of the things I know about governments like to do 2 things. If you listed 3, I can list 2. Governments like to regulate and they like to tax.
Yep.
Right.
And so what they've done is they've done the tax on the foreign exchange. So I'm assuming what you just said is that they do the tax on the Bitcoin as well.
I would say that if governments want to go down the road of taxing and they like regulation, there's this beautiful new field of capital raising that goes quite beautifully with our international business corporation licenses and our tax optimization nation, and that is taxing ICOs. It allows us to stop taxing.
What's an ICO?
An ICO is an internet coin offering. It's similar to an initial public offering in the sense of where a prospectus and a memorandum is put together and you're buying a percentage of a company or a utility around that organization, except without the red tape, missing in some cases regulators for one reason or another and how it's designed. In some cases including regulators, depending on, once again, how it's designed from a legal and software perspective. But Barbados being an innovating nation towards this new type. So an ICO is a way that a company can raise money by selling a portion of its utility, or via selling a portion of its own shares over the internet. So it's crowdfunding meets IPOs.
Okay.
And if our government were to successfully build welcoming and vetting packages and a due diligence program around this, we could be taxing that sweet 2.5% on a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they don't have to be taxing us.
So how far advanced are you in discussions with trying to get this new form of?
There are companies that have established in Barbados from the internet, have come down here, have started using this method already. I'm not gonna say who, but I'm aware that one particular company has done 25 million, another has done 10 plus million, and they're waiting for our government to acknowledge them to be taxed. And now what they're doing is basically selling rights to their software's earnings over the internet.
But obviously there's going to be a big challenge, because I know just in what I would say other financial products that come through the international business sector. I think there's an understanding of the legislators trying to keep up with.
Okay, so our government is aware of this. So our Minister of International Trade, I've had conversations with Don Vinnis and people on his team. I've had discussions all the way around to trying to form a round table around this subject, because I see this as a very big avenue of exactly that. If you want to go down the direction of regulation, we can regulate how these ICOs or initial or internet coin offerings work. And similarly to that, it's an amazing tax infrastructure that allows us to already use our IBC infrastructure with this new generation of internet raising of capital. You couple those two, and that's where the Barbadian government can find its taxes.
But you would probably have to write that legislation, put it there, because I know I can give you a personal example from the on the insurance side. The insurance legislation was written in a format that mirrored the banking, and banking and insurance is two different things. Yeah. And what they ended up doing is catching what they call the low-hanging fruit, and they ended up writing it that local insurance companies got captured in the net because the legislation was written incorrectly, and they did not. So this is where my concern comes in, because you're talking about regulation. You have to make sure that our legislators can keep up with what you're discussing.
Well, I think our regulation is already there. The minister himself has the ability to revoke or issue licenses of IBCs. He personally signs off on them.
Correct.
If there was a whitelist established and a committee established, there isn't need for
any legislation.
You're allowing a company to exist that meets certain regulatory and legal requirements.
So it doesn't require any legislation.
I'm not a lawyer, so let's put an asterisk there.
Before we get any further, because we actually have a lot of questions on the thread, so I wanted to take a break so
because
that
we've gone like from the potential of what Bitcoin is, and then we've gone to
but this is kind of important to how we can stop being taxed as a people,
as a country as Barbados, how we can benefit by this technology, commodity, asset, currency, whatever.
So yes, I agree. We should go to questions.
Because we've been ignoring, we don't usually ignore people for so long, and we usually do take some questions, and we have a lot of questions.
Oh wow, we do have a lot of questions
that have not been answered. So I would like for you guys to take a chance to review some of the questions and prepare yourself while our sponsor comes and shares with everyone.
Sorry, sponsor.
Yes. So just take some time to look through the questions so that it can help guide how the rest of the conversation goes. And I'd like to welcome the president of the Institute of Internal Auditors.
we can go through all of these. So you guys
Let's
just
start with Danielle.
just pitch away, and I can answer. But when we get back on live,
Yes. So, I'd like to welcome. This is Eric Small. He is the president of the Internal Auditors for this chapter, and he would have helped to sign off along with the other board members. Yes, $850 worth of donations that will be going to the Dominica relief effort. So, kudos. And you will notice we're both wearing our shirts. Yes, you went and get it for your mother. So I invited him here to just share a bit while our guests take some time to review the questions, to share with us a bit about what the Institute of Internal Auditors is all about.
Okay, well, good night, everyone. Firstly, I just want to make a slight correction. I'm the immediate past president.
Sorry, Donna.
Institute of Internal Auditors. The current president is Miss Donna Miller, who was unable to make it here tonight, so I'm deputizing. I'd like to say thanks to Crystal for allowing us to come on her blog, a non-traditional medium to advertise a non-traditional profession on a night where she's actually looking at a non-traditional currency.
It's true.
But I'm here ready to speak about the Institute of Internal Auditors Barbados chapter. We are one of probably 500 chapters worldwide. We have 130 members. We are one of probably about 13 chapters in the Caribbean. Our members are attorneys, accountants, we have a few engineers. We're trying to encourage everybody to become internal auditors. And really what we do is try to ensure that whatever business you have reaches its full potential and achieves whatever objectives you want to achieve.
So what do internal auditors do on a day-to-day basis? I know you work for a credit union, I work for an insurance company. How would you describe to some person what we actually go to work and do every day?
We go to work, we kind of speak in the knowledge of controls. We try to ensure that if you're supposed to be reviewing somebody else's work, that is done effectively. Whatever you do, we are there essentially to ensure that it is done properly and probably give recommendations on how you can probably improve it. Typical day at work, probably get work at 30, supposed to get work at 10 to 8. We read the newspaper and try to find out what are the key risks with my industry achieving, and my company achieving its objectives. We heard just now with the cryptocurrency, there was a whole lot of talk about regulation as well as, well, I would say cybersecurity. I say we deal in the language of risk, so we try to identify what can go wrong in terms of you achieving that objective, or what can probably go right, and that's what we call risk.
Is the discussion of cryptocurrency something you think that internal auditors can, because we actually don't have to deal with it very much because I don't know a lot of companies in Barbados that are involved with it, but do you think this is the direction that we need to get ahead of as internal auditors?
Yeah, that would be considered an emerging risk and, well, an emerging area that would have emerging risks within it. And part of you achieving your objectives, I think most companies would want to survive into the 22nd century. And that would, well, require you understanding, kind of projecting into the future. If we're not going to be using physical cash, and everybody's going to be turning to this cryptocurrency, that
we have to know how to audit it.
We definitely know how to audit it. The technology sounds a little confusing at present, but there are other auditors through our network who are experts in the area who could probably come and add to the conversation another night if Crystal is willing.
Yeah. So Barbados chapter specifically, what activities would you say that we get involved in? Events, seminars? Could describe any that we've had recently or any that are upcoming?
And I'm going to go even further back than recently. We were pretty much born December 4th, 1999. And from inception, we've been hosting conferences, seminars, whether it's corporate governance, fraud, control self-assessment. Pretty much whatever topic is germane to you achieving an objective, we probably had a presenter on it. Crystal herself is pretty modest, but she has been one of the new shining lights in terms of, she's a coastal specialist. So we've had her present in that area pretty recently. November 13th and 14th, we're going to be hosting a fraud seminar. Everyone's invited, everyone in the public.
Is there a fee?
There is a minor fee, probably $700.
Students, what would be the fee for students? Because I had some, we would have had a panel at Viva Career Showcase yesterday, and we did have some students that asked about, coming and peeking at what we do.
Yeah, what we've tried to do is encourage students to come and assist as volunteers. We've not really had a student rate previously, but it's something that we probably discuss and look at probably for this event. It's pretty much 2.5 weeks a year, so it's not impossible that we can have a student rate if there is interest. We very much want to encourage students. There will be a future in the profession. Yeah, we will look into that.
Anything else that you'd like to add before we bring back on our guests?
I would just like to say thanks very much for having us. The Dominica appeal, it doesn't look like much, but we're going to do as best we can.
There's more around the back. There's more around the back.
That was a horrible disaster, and we're just pleased that we could help in any way. Thanks very much.
And I appreciate, because you didn't have to listen to my begging, but I really do appreciate you taking some of the funds and donating to this cause, because it's really heartbreaking what's happened to our brothers and sisters, and any way that we can help bring some kind of relief. I encourage persons, I spoke to the United Trust, and they're going to be packing on Saturday and possibly Monday. I believe the last shipment is on Tuesday. So if you do have any other donations, please feel free to contact them so that you can have yours included. If you know any workplaces, I know Savipur has been shipping out, and any other places that have been, please take advantage so that you can make sure that you get in on those shipments to help bring relief to our Caribbean brothers and sisters. Alright, I want to say thank you, a million thanks for this significant effort, and to the board, I really appreciate you giving approval for us to be able to do something like this.
Well, thanks very much, Crystal, and good luck.
Thank you. You could go call back our guests. I hear them arguing rough about, I guess they're trying to figure out which questions it is that they're going to address next. But I have been tracking your questions as well, so please don't feel as though your questions are being ignored or forgotten. For the persons who are messaging me offline as they're not on the thread, it is very unlikely I may get to your questions, so please post. I see the pop-up, but I don't want to interrupt the feed. So please post your questions on the thread. Please do not be shy. We have our guests back, and I hope you guys have figured out how y'all answering these questions, because there's a lot. That's why I stopped you guys. It's not that it's not.
I have all night.
Just hit us to the questions.
All right, so your first one is going to be Danielle. Danielle has, what opportunities exist for Barbadians to purchase Bitcoin, and who is the somebody we find?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to buy Bitcoin right now, you could either go, well, like I said, you could go on any exchange right now, you can go on any website that is listed as exchange. Bitt.com is one if you want to buy with your Barbados dollars. If you also want to use just your credit card or debit card, you could go to cex.io. If you want to know what is a fair price to buy a Bitcoin or Ethereum or another cryptocurrency, you could go on a site like coindesk.com or Crypto Watch. Just Google those and you'll find those.
After this this session, then you can put all of that on the thread so that people can find it that easy.
And I'll make a post of some of my favorite exchanges and some of the different processes. If you have Barbadian dollars, here's how you buy Bitcoin.
Correct.
I can't speak to Trinidadian or Jamaican dollars, although there is a huge appetite for that right now.
Okay.
Our vendor actually mentioned something called Lickle. First time I heard about it.
Lickle is I think an Israeli company. Are they doing credit cards now?
Apparently, they actually accept Trinidad.
They accept Trinidad. Well, what do you mean, Trinidadian dollars?
I assume
That's what he said.
Okay.
That's what our vendor said. My phone is out of power.
Well, then you can use Lickle for Trinidadian dollar deposits. It depends on the jurisdiction that you're living in. It depends on the currency that you currently have available, and it depends on the service providers that are available in that country. And finally, the biggest factor on why Bitcoin is or is not available in your country, it's 99% at the regulators and banking.
Okay.
And Dominique has a question I have. What incentive will I have as a vendor to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment here in Barbados? I have that question.
Okay, so you have a lot of incentives. Number one, Bitcoin is a really good store of value. So receiving Bitcoin as a payment for something that you a service or product that you sold, it's a very good hedge against failing markets in some cases. So some people like me hold Bitcoin as an investment tool. That's one reason. The second reason is reduce fees. You can actually have a reduction in costs of what it costs you to bring money into the island and reduce time. So reduction of time of clearing your dollars locally. So let's just say you received 1,000 US in Bitcoin. You can turn around and sell it on something like Bitt.com or to someone like Shannon and myself, and we would give you your $1,000 locally real time. But usually exchanges are the best point to deal with for automation. Another great reason to take Bitcoin is because when you're dealing with markets that may not receive credit card payments, this is a really good way to settle with those markets. For example, in the Philippines, it's not very easy to use credit card to pay Filipinos, but you can use Bitcoin to pay them, and it's a very good accepted payment choice in that part of the world. So it's a very good avenue to make payments where credit card payments are not available. And there's couple other perks that I can get into.
All right, well, it seems we Daniel and Dominique are dominating the questions tonight, but they're all very good questions, so I have to ask them. So if I bought Bitcoin via Bitt, can I transfer it to another wallet like Coinbase?
Oh, that's true.
Yes, absolutely. We follow the Bitcoin protocol, which means once you've bought Bitcoin on Bitt and you have a balance of Bitcoin, you can move those Bitcoin to any Bitcoin compliant wallet in the world. It doesn't matter where that wallet is, where it's hosted. It can be your own private wallet. It can be the wallet that you've generated with your calculator and some pens and some dice. It can be Coinbase.com or Kraken. At the end of the day, as long as they're following the Bitcoin standard, it can be sent to any Bitcoin compliant wallet.
Is there any more in there, Crystal?
Chris, your turn.
I saw.
I'll take two.
Okay.
So don't have anything to do with Bitt.
Well, sometimes you can answer those too.
Depends.
Depends.
It depends.
Dominique was asking how many businesses in Barbados currently accept Bitcoin.
That's you.
Quite a few number of businesses accept Bitcoin, but they're not vocal about it, and there's several reasons for that. One of the major reasons is Bitt.com hasn't rolled out its full suite of products. Once we roll out our full suite of products, it'll be a lot more easy to accept digital currencies. And I would specifically like to differentiate the Barbados digital dollar, our efforts with central bank, and Bitcoin, the currency, versus Bitcoin, the technology. So at some point tonight, I would like to address that, because this is where we get into the real crux of the matter. Blockchain, the useful technology, versus just, as Shannon put out, Bitcoin's value transfer system is one thing that makes Bitcoin special. And I'd like to move off of Bitcoin and get into the blockchain, which is the underlying technology in how you can build really amazing platforms and systems that revolutionize nations.
Well, let's go through a few more questions first, and then we could get into that, yeah?
I'm going to modify one of the questions here. I know there's an ATM for Bitcoin out by Hastings area.
In our office?
By your office, but I'm not sure how many people know where your office is. Are there any others?
On the island, we have a few, but we have one activated so far.
Okay.
And once you have done your compliance, so we know who you are as a customer, which is once again proof of address, proof of identification. Once a manual compliance officer who works at Bitt has approved your account, you can then go to this ATM, put cash in, and you can buy Bitcoin through that, or vice versa, send Bitcoin to your ATM. And but it is a lot cheaper to use Bitt.com itself as opposed to the ATM.
So there's a fee for using the ATM?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
And I'm not off the top of my head. I'm not sure what the fee is, but I do know that the fee via the exchange is lower. So it is advisable to use Bitt.com directly. And soon from now in our app, there is a feature where we'll be adding the buying and selling of digital assets straight in the mobile app, which is not available right now.
Okay, and Fazal was making a point that you can sell Bitcoin in minutes.
In seconds.
Seconds.
In multiple exchanges.
Don't have to worry about, I got all this Bitcoin and they can't get rid of it. I need cash right now. What am I going to do? You can.
So there's a number of ways to sell your Bitcoin. You can use foreign exchanges, and you can sell it into different assets. You can use Bitt.com and you can sell it into Barbadian dollars real time. You can use over the counter. There's localbitcoins.com, which we don't control. Localbitcoins.com is this international website where local people can meet for buying and selling Bitcoin. And you can sell it to friends or very liquid, multi-billion liquidity-based exchanges. Million, not billion, dollars.
So, one of the questions here, Mario. Unfortunately, we're going to save that for another time, and then maybe.
What is it? Come on, bring it up.
It's quantum computing and supercomputing and how it can thwart.
Nope.
So maybe we can get.
That's a leading question.
Gabriel or Shannon to directly maybe post the answer. On his site somewhere.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
So Mario, I can respond to that in a question.
That's a leading question because that could go anywhere.
Yeah, because that might be a little bit above where we want to head tonight.
There's another question here that I wanted to ask. Someone is asking if this will take away from the foreign exchange that we could be earning if persons start using Bitt as opposed to foreign currency, and the government right now needs as much foreign currency as they can get.
As long as the Bitcoin are reported through a regulated platform. Let's just say right now Shannon decides to set up a shop saying he'll take Bitcoin and he receives those Bitcoin to his private purse, then there is a issue that we would potentially be facing from a potential to earn that foreign exchange for the government or for the country, which is why
this is leading into another question I was made to understand that the central bank is not going to be holding any kind of cryptocurrencies at all. If they had
accurate.
to move towards doing that, would that actually help in terms of not relying as much on foreign exchange, but actually using Bitt to be able to import? Would that help?
There was a paper done by Jeremy Stevens and Winston Moore that was Jeremy Stevens. Sorry, Jeremy. That was predicated on the central bank looking at using Bitcoin as one of its reserve currencies. I'm just going to say this again because I've made it very vocal. Had that paper been adhered to, we would be in a very fortuitous position right now as a country.
I think so as well.
Now, to answer your question on does it hurt foreign exchange reserves or the ability for the government to realize foreign exchange, if a formal and legislative model was set up where government can acknowledge this. For example, I do have right now a person who has a piece of land that wants to sell it for Bitcoin to a foreigner who wants to buy it for Bitcoin, and neither of them can do this transaction. And the reason for that is specific legislation around foreign land owner purchasing requires that the USD must be reported to central bank, or must be reported via it must be registered.
It was registered because if they want to take it back
you can't, and there's no method for you registering that Bitcoin.
This is reminding me of Andrew Hart's session where we were talking about the hedging, where because the regulators didn't seem to fully understand
the hedging,
then we missed out on an opportunity.
Well, this is another one of those issues where you have an opportunity for foreign direct investment, you have an opportunity for foreign interests from a foreign asset perspective of acquiring this foreign asset that has utility beyond Barbados. It is not, the laws right now don't facilitate that. Once again, looking at the real estate scenario, I'm well aware of a $500,000 US transaction that did not happen because of local laws.
You are aware that we're ranked in the ease of doing business in the world, right?
Educate me and the rest.
Well, that's bringing different issues into it.
Well, no, not really, because
it's all part of the process.
Because understanding if there was a way for, and I'm not for foreign acquisition of our local lands, but if there was an avenue to reduce and make that more available, then you would have an influx of ability for companies or individuals.
I'm not disagreeing there, but I'm just saying
we're ranked in the hundreds in the world of ease of doing business in the world.
Yeah, we keep going down.
ICAP did a presentation
over the last 7 years or so. Yeah, we keep going down.
Yeah, so that's where the challenge will be. However, what the show is about is not just looking at the challenges,
but solutions.
We like to see solutions. We like to see what is in it for us being Barbados. You started to talk about Bitcoin. You started with the central bank using it as a currency. But something that more interests me is the ICOs that you were mentioning and the potential for Barbados. And how would you say your process is talking with the various political components as well as the regulatory components, any of the bodies regarding of promoting Barbados and what is in it from Barbados?
And to add to his question, are there any other countries where their governments have adopted cryptocurrencies in their reserves, so that we can use that as a benchmark to say Barbados isn't the only one?
Those are two really different questions. So let's start with yours. First of all, this is Gabriel Abed speaking, not Bitt.com, and not a representative of Bitt. Bitt has nothing to do with ICOs and Barbados' structuring around that. Now, I've been fortunate in that both of our political parties have been open-minded to this. On the Democratic Labour Party side, Donville has made his time available to not just try to understand this, but various ICO companies who have flown into the island have had face-to-face time with Donville. And on the other end, our opposition leader, Mia Motley, she's been very open as well to understanding this technology. So the great part is that I'm not seeing resistance at the governmental level. It's just more everyone trying to wrap their head around this. Right. And what's the safest way to do this while not risking our international relationships, while not putting up threats to our local sector. I mean, there's many different risks, but the rewards are disgustingly amazing right now, and we need some wins. And we would have talked about sectors that won, like you would have mentioned the hedge funds. So I don't know if you want to speak briefly about that, because it ties back into what we're doing here, and then I can speak a little bit about how I'm trying to structure this.
Basically my understanding was that many moons ago, someone had brought a concept to try to capture the hedge fund, and we're trying to put Barbados as a domicile to capture the hedge fund market. And shortly after that, Singapore caught on to the model, and then they ballooned it, and history is there. But if we had ventured into the hedge fund market where the regulators had got their minds around it, we could have been somewhere. But I wasn't physically there then, so I don't really want to speak too much about it.
But it's still still a case study that we can look at.
Because I'm a third party, and I don't like to, unless I know physically the thing. But the point is, what I'm trying to get from Gabriel is, because I think it's good, because I do find Donville and Mia are very receptive. We don't play politics here. We try to call it as is. Donville's been on show. Mia hasn't come yet, so we'll have to see what happens there. She'll be on my private chat. Yeah. But there are good people in government. There are good people in the civil service. The problem we have, which is what I related to in terms of how all the digital platforms rely on, is the bureaucracy and red tape that our good people in the civil service have to follow. And until we start breaking that down and release those ties that bind, it more frees up things like, because when the last thing somebody wants to come here and they want to set up any of these ICOs is to have to be boggled in layers of bureaucracy. I'll give one example. I'm not going to call who my supplier is, but I have an overseas supplier. They could not understand.
Supplier of what?
I'm not saying. I could not. they cannot understand why I cannot just write them a check to pay them. They say, but can't you just write a check? I said, no. I have to, and I explained the process. What I did one day is I actually took the documents that I have to do for a wire transfer. I took a pencil, put the pencil on and took a picture, and I'm sending this to the CFO of one of the largest companies in America. It's a Warren Buffett company. So that's about as much I can tell you. And I'm sending it to the CFO and showing them this is what we have to do for bureaucracy, and that blew them away. And they do business all over the world. They have supply. So we are layered in bureaucracy. I feel when I go to deal with someone in the government department, I actually feel sorry for them because they're actually apologetic, because they know. The best example I had was one day when I had two government departments not figuring out why the other one needs what they want.
Okay.
So in this context,
let's look at this in terms of the opportunities that we're missing. Right. I think that's basically what we're talking about right now, right? Barbados is well known internationally for its trade treaties and its various double taxation policies that it has, right? A lot of people come to Barbados, want to come to Barbados, I should say, to do business, international business, right? However, as we're mentioning right now, it's very, very difficult to do business because of the banking policies, right? Now, it's very slow in order to just set up an international bank account, in order to where you'll hold US currency, also then after you set up that bank account, to then do any trades. There are various businesses and millionaires, so these are groups of persons, entities, corporate entities, as well as individuals who try to sign up and have left Barbados without signing up out of frustration. Some who are in the process right now. I don't know what they try to do is that they just try with multiple banks at the same time. Now, let's then say, okay, what are the opportunities that Barbadians can access by buying into Bitcoin, perhaps, let's say, in the initial coin offerings that we're speaking about. Now, these initial coin offerings are basically businesses that are allowing people to buy into their financial securities or buy into their economies, into their technology solution by purchasing or trading Bitcoin, Ethereum, or another cryptocurrency for that specific a portion of their own technology. So for instance, it would be a matter of, let's say I want to get into Facebook or the next Facebook, so I want to buy the opportunity to create a new Facebook account. Let's say there's a new version of Facebook that's coming out before it actually comes out. Basically what you're doing, you are buying into a new method of, let's say, buying real estate using cryptocurrency, right? Now, the issue that people or businesses have with these initial coin offering right now is that many of them are running afoul of existing financial securities regulations. Financial securities regulations have been set up internationally. I'm not talking about only within the Caribbean or within the United States or within any specific regulation or within any specific region, have been set up to avoid fraud and basic insider trading, etc. Right? Now, a lot of these initial coin offerings have been set up where persons can buy these tokens or buy these portions of the software solution, access to the solution without following the requirements of those regulations. Basically, then if people expect to gain money by buying into buying a portion of this software, buying access to the software, then it should be regulated. So according to the Howey test, according to various regulations. Now, people are falling full of the regulations because they're accepting money from across the world without actually knowing, okay, who is actually buying it and what is it that people actually expect.
So should we get back onto the cryptocurrency?
Hold on, right? So the opportunity for Barbados basically is to create a channel are a simple process for people to create these ICOs or these initial client offerings where people can buy into them.
That's two ways of looking at it. So on one end, we're allowing a Barbadian company to launch an ICO. There's a set of regulatory hurdles that...
But not only a Barbadian company, any international company.
Sure, but where I was more trying to lead towards is that if our regulators were to adequately structure, and I mean there's not much structuring that needs to be done, but I could be wrong here, but follow in the steps of our friends that we're familiar with that set up an ICO locally in Barbados and completed a $25 million internet raise. By putting together a committee, a steering committee if you will, and creating a whitelist, the minister still has the right to sign off on all of these IBCs or international businesses that are formed locally, and thus gives you a level of oversight and protection that can immediately be implemented. Furthermore, the important thing here to take away is that we're embracing an internet age while earning taxable income for our local economy. Something we need right now and muchly, and it reduces the tax liabilities imposed on the Barbadian citizens. So it's the best of both worlds in my opinion. But if we can get back on track with the more generic...
I agree, because where I'm looking at is that desperate measures, desperate times calls for desperate measures. And currently we have a major problem in our financial economic crisis now because of lack of foreign direct investment. So what we need to do is, if we have a channel, which I'm hearing tonight, a channel of opportunity that we could be at the forefront, or at least somewhere in the front running, that we need the people who can, like Minister Innes, not calling any names, but Minister Innes.
Donville get called
Donville, yes. We need to fast track things. We need to dispense with expediency. But we need to be very careful, because at the end of the day, you don't want to...
Well, we have to observe that ICOs have been banned in China. They've been highly regulated in the United States. You have countries unsure what to do, and their default is to ban it. Whereas right now, under our nose in Barbados, the structure of our international business corporations and IBCs and RBCs is giving these international companies an edge where they think they can deploy locally using our double tax treaty methods and use, in theory, these tokens filed as a sales tax.
Well, what I was getting at is that we got to be, because we still have to be cognizant of that we have other businesses that operate down here, and there are certain criteria that they're looking at. So we have to make sure that even though we're looking, because I like what you said about the whitelist and the listing of the companies.
Allow some form of governance to occur, that you bring on the experts in the industry who can tell you what's a scam from what's not a scam.
Right.
You make sure you have the right regulators and legal bodies in the room that can say, hey, this is a security and we're definitely not going to do this, or this definitely falls under this past the Howey test. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to pretend that I can sit here and say these are the criteria for successfully listing of an ICO. But nonetheless, there are initial or internet coin offerings that do come under a network-based utility and fall under that sort of category, where we could very well be embracing them to once again earn a lucrative amount of tax revenue.
Well, one of the things for sure is that for us to get out, apart from having to seek financing from the IMF, you don't want to have to go, but you need the foreign direct investment. And one of the areas that we can do this as quickly as possible is through the international business sector, and this will certainly fall under that paradigm. And we need to make sure that we put mechanisms in place to fast track these type of businesses, making sure we get the correct businesses, but just fast track them into.
But the mechanisms in place as well to defend against nefarious, fraudulent, or bad actors, and those who classify as a security trying to file as a non-security. We have to be very careful there. But nonetheless, if we get that formula down pat,
I don't want us to miss out on the next hedge fund
or the next offshore sector like BVI came in and dominated on. Or
in China, there's two things people know in China: Rihanna and BVI. They don't even know where it is. They just know Rihanna and BVI. Two things. So put that in here and just think about that. That's billions of people.
Grand Prasad is here giving away Bitcoin to persons on our thread.
Hey, if you sign up to Bitt.com and create a Bitt.com, if you sign up to Bitt and create a Bitt.com account right now and post your Bitt.com Bitcoin address, I'll send you $10 of Bitcoin. Anyone that posts a Bitcoin address, and I'll probably this offer expires.
Hold on.
This offer expires in like 24 hours or less. Actually, you know what? That's pretty dangerous. I'll probably put it on a hard cap of like $1,000 or something.
Okay.
So.
All right. $1,000.
Hard cap, $10 a person. That's what 100 people.
First 100 people sign up.
So I can apply for this.
Okay. Only if you don't have Bitcoin. Allow people who've never had Bitcoin before to at least get something. Please use a Bitt.com wallet and support the initiative, and let us get some useful feedback on what you like or don't like. You can download it on Android, iPhone, and just post your address here in this thread, and I'll try to within the next between now and 24 hours. And like Arvinda did, I'll even distribute 500 to Arvinda since I'm calling you out. I'll send Arvinda 500 and he can show proof.
I think this
with
is a special episode where the most money is being given away. So
yes, well, there's all the 850, another 1,000, another 1,500.
Very.
That's so cool. Okay.
But I certainly found this extremely informative. I think we got further into. It was a tough topic to tackle because we could have gone on so many different tangents. But I think we got what we call a taste bud appetite for
to get people to start buying into it. Because that was my concern, that there's so many persons who are afraid of it, and as you said, when people are afraid, they tend to ban.
Well, what we should really aim to do is make sure that education's on the forefront always. I don't think we did a great job of explaining the Bitcoin and blockchain world, and I don't think an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or even 6 hours it's going to ever be enough. It's an extremely complex subject, but one that merits the time to learn about it. You know, there's Block Geeks. I'll post this in below. There's Block Geeks, and Khan Academy has a Bitcoin course. There's a new school starting called Academy. By Jason King and Mo Levin, and these courses are things that we should take on, or the Barbadian public should take on, to endeavor to complete, so they understand what Bitcoin represents, what blockchain represents, permission ledgers versus distributed ledgers versus consensus algorithms. And I know they sound like big scary words, but they all have meaning that can serve great value.
That Bitt is planning to do a one-day session where we'll target specifically some juniors who want to come along and start to develop the economy.
So are you going into
I can't commit to that, but
stuff like that to get.
I can talk it over with Roddy and work out a plan on because him and I have had some brief discussions in it, because he's only been here a few days. He has to make, there's a lot coming his way, and he's trying to figure out the best formation for a marketing agenda, and something that he's rightfully identified, and even before he joined us, was education is on the forefront. So he's aware, I'm aware, the team's aware. Education is something that we endeavor to keep pushing and doing. It's not going to be an easy task. It's not something that's going to require one forum, one podcast, one newspaper article, one YouTube speech. It's a continuous process.
Well, unfortunately, Shannon's realized that I know his phone number, and I've had several discussions with him, and they've lasted probably about an hour each time.
I mean, okay, so Shannon's a perfect example. Technically savvy, one of our leading superstars in software and programming. And it took me 2 years to get this guy to take on Bitcoin and blockchain. Wow. So I mean, this is a very good example of it's not that easy, even with the technology friendly to get, and in some cases the business and economic friendly. It's a work in progress.
Well, you have at least one convert. I have one past guest on my show, Kevin Devonish.
So we have trading going on there?
Who's receptive to the ease in terms of, the speed in terms of the transactions, because of how long it would take for you to send money through bank wires and transferring money, and this might be a much speedier process.
Nicholas King says, "Send me money."
So Nicholas, you gave your account ID. Can you go on the send and request page, or in the mobile app, the request section, and copy that? Really, it's 32 characters. It starts with a 3. It looks really long, and it's made up of letters and numbers, uppercase and lowercase. Like what Danielle posted. Exactly, except Danielle's own starts with a 1. Bitt.com's addresses, which are hierarchical deterministic, they start with a 3.
Okay.
Danielle is probably using some other wallet.
She probably is, but
she's probably using Bittrex.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just send that.
Free money is free money, and
free Bitcoin is free Bitcoin.
Free Bitcoin. We gotta get
Commodity.
used to new terminologies as well.
He calls it asset. What do you call it?
Yeah.
Protocol.
Commodity.
So Gregory, I don't know.
Ultimately, it's a store of value. You know, it really is.
Ultimately, it's a store of data with an incentivization model built around its security.
It's gamification, literally. Is like
what is gamification?
Basically, you're incentivizing people to continue behaving in a certain way, and you're incentivizing it. So basically, you're giving them money the more that they do something.
I don't know about you, Crystal, but I thoroughly enjoyed this session this evening.
I feel a little bit more excited because a lot of the questions that I've even had
has the core question of why should you buy Bitcoin or should you not?
The statement.
Okay, go ahead.
I've had a lot of questions thrown at me, especially recently once the person came out, and the concerns were, I think a lot of the concerns that persons had would have been addressed tonight. So I really appreciate that, and I'm not cutting you off because you can feel free to continue the discussion. But I really do appreciate that a lot of the questions that I know persons have been asking me have been addressed here. And I'm hoping that persons don't see this as the end all in terms of what cryptocurrency is all about, because Bitt is just one form of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, sorry.
Bitt.com is a company. Bitcoin is a technology.
I've actually seen a lot of persons having sessions about using cryptocurrencies almost like pyramid schemes. So that was another thing that's something that
I would love to address as observing what's a scam, what's not a scam, knowing how to identify it.
So seeing things like that, I think those kind of things also scare people, because as soon as you hear pyramid scheme, some persons associate then cryptocurrencies with that, and then may feel hesitant about investing or holding cryptocurrencies.
And hopefully through education we can thwart those myths.
I think for the period of time that we had tonight, I think we brushed a lot of surfaces, but there's still a lot of meat to the matter, and as you know, any one of these topics that we raised tonight, we could probably spend a week on them and still be discussing them. And I think the key is that, as we said, we whet everyone's appetite for it. There'll be more questions. I'm hoping that as people ask them on the social accountability page or other pages, that you will feel free to share your insights.
So people could just look at any articles that I've shared, but really,
I read all of them.
But yeah, literally, if you go to any of the sites that we've shared, right, and that we've spoken about, you can see the amount of money that's being amount of value, I should say, that's being traded right now with these cryptocurrencies.
I saw.
And you can see the trend moving forward. So if you want to just say, just in terms of the opportunity right now,
one of the things I would suggest is that one of your next sessions is have one specifically for, because there's a large international business trading. A lot of people don't realize there's a lot of trading actually that undergoes here in Barbados, and there's a strong international business sector community in the finance field. And I would suggest that you have a forum specifically for
around investing
and
the different cryptocurrencies that you can buy, why you should buy one cryptocurrency over another, what you should be speculating on. That's a little bit risky to be giving investment advice, but I can give some opinions. I'm definitely open to that.
But not investment advice, but
more than experience,
more like understanding,
more preferences of one technology and governance model over another.
Right. You know what would be good? How do you do the due diligence on looking into a protocol?
Yeah, I have 8 criteria. I have 8 criteria of looking at protocols, from distribution, pre-mine, team, governance. What would also be cool is, and I can see a lot of the watchers are actually cryptocurrency friendly individuals and quite educated. So on future shows, you can start inviting other persons. Like, for example, I noted Rashid Holder. He's one of the developers. One of our developers at Bitt. He's quite smart. And then Jamario's on. There's a few other characters that we can definitely invite on the show. A few smart people that can speak to different avenues of the technology.
Yeah, I just think, because as I said, people I know in the finance field.
I hope you got your wallet ready here, because
I can see wallets. I can see that Mario and Kriston have posted non-Bitt addresses.
I make sure I type for them. It has to start with a 3.
Well, a 3 is just one indication of what wallets I use, but I would be I'd be sending only to Bitt wallets for right now. So if you want a gift, make sure you're on the Bitt wallet.
Bitt wallet. Yeah, as I said, there's a lot of people in the finance field, a lot of people in the international business sector, not only just in the finance field, but people who are in businesses here in the international business sector. Since they heard me saying about we're going to do this show, I mean, I've had elongated discussions with people, and you know,
it's not going to stop. It's one of the more interesting topics that exists.
So I personally think that if you ever did a seminar like that, if it fits in with what you do at Bitt, if you ever did a seminar like that, I feel it would be oversubscribed. Once
again, there was discussions. If you recall, just a few weeks ago, we had a seminar around central bank meets blockchain. One of the original ideas that birthed that several months earlier were we identified the need to host a conference for education around the topic. And once again, that's something that may or may not come down the pipeline. I'm not too sure right now, but I do know it's much needed, and it's something that we'll push towards in the near-term future.
Well, I would be one of the attendees for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, any closing comments from our guests?
Closing comments on my end is I would have tried to touch on the what Bitcoin and blockchain represent, the fundamental difference of cryptocurrencies versus digital currencies. And I would have touched briefly on some of the investment criteria of Bitcoin and why you'd want to hold it as an investment vehicle. Mm-hmm. It's very cool technology. It's not limited to a value transfer system. It's extremely usable for building neat, innovative tools on top of. It's extremely usable when it comes to sending a value, and it has a lot of perks that are worth looking into. It's worth the time to educate oneself on such a innovative and disruptive topic.
Okay, and for me, myself, I'll just say, just in a practical sense, if you're keeping your money on the bank, you should stop doing that because you're losing money.
Oh wow, Shannon!
Right?
I'm just gonna sit back for this one.
Sorry, because simply, but the fact of the matter is,
Shannon, you want me to sit next to you?
There's no problem.
I can sit next to you for this comment.
I'm just gonna.
I don't have a problem with this comment.
I'll just myself from that one.
I don't.
You come. So I'm saying in terms of both personal as well as business, you're losing money. So you should be looking into ways to invest. Now, if you're looking into whether it's traditional stocks or even if looking into gold, you're going to notice that cryptocurrencies are doing as well or even better than that as well. So I would suggest that you learn more about your technology, look into what the trading activity is happening right now, and invest with the perspective to hold. Regardless of what you're seeing right now in terms of the regulators' response, there are many ways to use cryptocurrencies right now or into the future. As Gabriel and Dwayne spoke about, eventually you'll be able to invest directly into companies through these initial coin offerings, which means...
And hopefully we have a regulated environment here in Barbados where these internet coin offerings or initial coin offerings are not just happening with Barbadian companies looking to leverage this technology to get around the limited venture capital funding or the limited seed capital funding to become more prosperous when it comes to raising that foreign direct investment. And then furthering that, on the other end of things, hopefully the international business market start looking to use Barbados for its ICO deployment mechanisms. If we do get there, I think our island would not be the same that it is right now.
Okay, great. And if that happens, then you're probably going to see 100 to 1,000x on your investment. If that doesn't happen, then you're probably going to see maybe even just less in terms of 2x.
That goes
and if it does happen, we'll also see hundreds of thousands of jobs being formed on this island. Right. We'll see millions, if not billions of dollars of foreign direct investment flooding into this island. Wow. I mean, just one simple adoption of a beautiful technology can make all the world a difference on this small island with 280,000 people. And I think we all stand to gain from paying very close attention to that particular side of the market.
Right. So it couldn't be a better time to invest because there's actually no reason, no, in my opinion, whether it's personal or for your business, to just keep your money in the bank. Please don't do that to yourself. Look into alternatives. You could look into lending agencies if you so desire, but there's far better alternatives. and we're just talking about one alternative.
What Shannon's trying to say, I think, is that you're talking about the inflation basis of your dollars being held at the bank, along with.
Well, a lot of people have spoken about it, right? If you keep your money at the bank, you're literally losing between 5 to 10% each year.
Just you're talking about fees alone. With
in fees and
tax,
inflation.
Exactly, right. Per year, you're actually losing
extremely low
that.
So you're
interest
advising
rate.
Barbadians to look at investment avenues of maybe land, Bitcoin, gold, that kind of stuff. 3 deflationary assets that I quite fancy.
There you go.
Okay.
I think the best question tonight was just by Seth St. John, who seems to have just joined in. He asked, "What did I miss?"
Well, that was good.
Everything.
Seth, good question. I would say that you've missed quite a lot.
You missed your future, man.
I think you've missed a very educational seminar. I certainly have come away a lot more informed than I was before I walked in.
Definitely.
I appreciate the time by Shannon and Gabriel for coming and spending here. Gabriel foolishly made a comment in the group, and I picked up on him quickly, and Crystal was right behind.
What was that
it.
foolish comment?
Was that you would come and do the show? So he
I don't know if he thought he was joking.
He couldn't get out of it because I had by the time I had got him, Crystal had got him too, and then so he was trapped in here. But
I thought he enjoyed being
Hey,
here with me.
I wish we could do more of this educational stuff.
What time is it?
I think it's kind of important.
10 o'clock.
Yeah, we can keep going, man. We can keep going. We don't have to stop.
Well, no, we can stop now. Let the audience digest it. When
Correct.
it's a lot. Maybe we didn't explain what blockchain was. Maybe we didn't explain the fun. You know what we
definitely
didn't?
didn't
You know what we didn't
explain
do?
what blockchain was.
We didn't get into the fun part of talking about an application of blockchain, like what Bitt is doing with central banking. You know,
Okay.
there's a team of 40 plus, made up of Caribbean nationals and some beautiful players that are focusing on building out a new technology, and these guys are really hard at work building out the future of what a digital dollar standard would look like.
Right.
So I would love to touch on the work that the hard men and ladies, the hard work that the men and ladies at Bitt have been, you know, over the last 3 years, and specifically the last 12 months, have been working on and giving some clarity to the cool things coming out of the Bitt team, you know, down there in Hastings Plaza.
But we definitely are open to repeat guests. We've had Shane on 3 times, and I would love to have him on much more often because he breaks down economic issues so well. Of course, you would be Barbados' resident expert on cryptocurrencies. We have other experts, but I know you and I know Jeremy. So, and I can drag you into my home.
So-
but I will open up the floor to other experts who would like to join you in being able to explain further. Because they said, when I see how much material there is,
We have some dudes at Bitt that are incredibly smarter than I don't want to say it's smarter than me for sure. That explain things in a little bit more of a layman fashion.
Right.
We could look at having a couple of those guys on the show if they're open to it. I don't want to sign anyone up for anything.
I understand because we kind of hold people to promises. So.
Which is why I'm here. But with that being said, there's a great set of people on the island right now that have been educated on the topic and who are fully versed to come and speak about it. And maybe they have a different presentation style that the audience may appreciate more. I don't know if I did a great job or a good job of explaining Bitcoin and blockchain, but once again, this isn't the only forum or the only time, and we'll keep it up.
Yeah, because we want to make sure that even if Bajans do not buy into participating, they at least understand, so that when a conversation is had, they don't feel as though they're left out and feel as though they want to block something solely out of lack of understanding.
Absolutely.
So,
I think one thing we need to clarify is because there's people are talking about $50 bits online. You had said $10 Bitt wallet, right?
$10 US on US, not Bajan. To anyone that
100 people.
100 people capped, $1,000 closing off tomorrow in 24 hours from now.
In a Bitt wallet.
there you go.
So we have it there now.
All right.
So if there's any misunderstanding or
So how many have we had so far?
I don't
Looks
know.
like
Not
about
sure.
20 so far. 10
So
to 20.
there's still room in that 24-hour gap. So
I'm sure.
It's hot.
And,
I'm sure it's gonna be
and Dominique, who's been here the whole night, said it was really easy to sign up.
Oh, thank you, Dominique. That's not thanks to me. That's thanks to guys like Rashid and Jamario who are on this same thing watching.
As she said, this brought so much clarity. So thanks for your comments, Dominique.
Thank you so
and
much,
your questions.
And you can thank the developers a bit for building such an awesome platform. And that's only the first generation. Another generation with way more features, functionality, usability. These guys have been...
something here.
Yeah, well, listen, man. These guys have been slaving hard, man, and working hard to build out this product.
No, keep it. But tell me, boy, Jason, man, come on.
Jason's one of the best programmers in, if not the Caribbean, the world. Like,
yeah, he is.
So,
he really is.
But I mean, it goes beyond just developers at a company like Bitt. There's, you have this guy named Simon that runs two of the most critical roles. Like he's the chief business development officer and the chief operation officer.
Simon
Chantry.
Sorry.
He's one of the co-founders of Bitt. This guy. I mean, he crushes it. Our partner Oliver he's in every facet of the company trying to hold things together. And then you have the guys like Roland and Marla and all these amazing characters and Kimberly and Rodney and various characters that add contributions to show what a superstar Caribbean team could look like. Yeah. And of course, if I get an opportunity to sing praises for that awesome team, then you better believe I'm going to take every opportunity to do that.
Not a problem.
Okay.
I say
comments from like Seth St. John is really good to me. I spent a week in Grandy's reading about crypto, and this discussion helped me understand things very well. So okay, looks like you've done a good job. Awesome.
Good job, Shannon.
I thought he was going to leave you hanging.
Yeah, for a second there I was going to have to it would have been recorded. So
yeah, I just went deep and say, yeah.
So thank you as well to the audience for tuning in for the question. I don't think we've had this many questions other than with Shane on one of these sessions. So at least it shows that
Shane, eat your heart out.
Are very interested in the topic, and once we see how the chat goes, we see what direction we go in, because as I said, there is so much material on cryptocurrencies that it would be impossible to cover in what was supposed to be an hour. We've gone into almost 2 hours, and I really appreciate you guys giving us that time, because I know you probably have better things to do, but I really do appreciate you.
Believe it or not, this is my job, is to make sure that the companies evangelize and the technology is adequately discussed. Education is key.
Appreciate that.
I had a lot of fun.
I am very glad.
That's the important thing.
So thank you as well to the audience for tuning in, and I hope you guys continue with your questions, share the video so that we can get the discussion going, and let your friends know that some free Bitcoins were given away. You just have to sign up with a Bitt wallet though.
Be one of the first 100 to sign up, and it's up to $1,000 US available from sponsors like Gabriel.
And thank you again to IAA for your donation to the Dominican.
Sign up on the Bitt.com wallet, huh?
Institute of Internal Auditors, Barbados Chapter. We really appreciate your sponsorship for this session. And if there's anyone else that would like to give some sponsorship, not necessarily to Dominica, but a word cause, I missed something.
The camera's tilted a little bit.
The camera's tilted.
So Nicholas is calling us out. Nicholas, you need to understand, the whole night I was staring at it, and it was driving me insane.
But thank you very much for coming. I'm going to wish everyone a good night.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Oh, the camera's straight.